The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
This is episode 33 of the Finding Florida Podcast on the Florida Podcast Network, a vision of virtual reality and the future.
Welcome to Finding Florida, the podcast that takes you from country to the coast. Join your tour guides, an unlikely pair, city girl Jaime and country boy Glenn, as they explore the amazing sights and sounds of the Sunshine State.
Alrighty, on today's show, we're going to kind of make sense of an insane world right now. Look, everybody's going through the same thing. We're dealing with quarantine, but the unexpected ramifications and impacts on this show, neither one of us could have seen that coming. So we're just going to talk about that a little bit openly here, and then we're going to circle back around to one of the most favorite concepts on the show. It's called our Roaming Reporter segment, and we have a very special submission from Roaming Reporter, who's actually a member of my Flint Stone Media team, JDM. So he gets us into some virtual reality experiences. But first off, we're going to start off with Glenn and I just shooting the stuff.
So, when we started this show, what was it, 2.5 years ago now?
Something like that. It's been a while. I think we're closing in on 3 years. I think our first episode, came out right around Halloween or shortly thereafter.
It was 10/31 of 2017.
See,
you have
look
a
at
good memory of
that.
Halloween.
Look at that. Or maybe I just did it on purpose so I wouldn't forget so easily. I can impress you 3 years later.
Yeah, you and I, we really wanted to do a show where it was a travel show where we got out and we actually did things.
Yeah.
We both have done.
It's a great idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Believe me, I really want to do that again. Because both of us had done shows, me for a long time and you for a long time, where we did interview shows and we did what I would consider kind of normal podcasts.
Yeah.
Where you do interviews and you talk about stuff, right?
Yeah. Except I did have the pleasure of going and meeting most of my interviewees in person. You were still in a studio every day. So that was a little bit different. Yeah,
you're right. And I had spent at that point probably 6,000 episodes talking about horses.
All in the studio.
I really wanted to talk about
There's a reason
something.
I'm emphasizing the fact that were stuck in your studio.
So, yeah, I just wanted to do something a little different, and you wanted to do something adventurous, and that's why we started the Finding Florida podcast. And as most of you know that have been with us for a long time, we have done some adventures.
I thought, you know what? If I'm starting this thing called the Florida Podcast Network, I might actually want to go out and see some of Florida.
And we have. We've seen a lot of Florida. We've done a lot of cool things all over the state. But then this little virus came along and
great things come in small packages, right, Glenn?
Yeah. And what happened with, a lot of people are getting out and about. There's people going to Disney. There's people doing different things. Unfortunately, with Jaime and I, with our health situation, we can't be as open and out and about. And with Florida's current situation, being the leader in the world.
Oh my gosh. Literally, we are the epicenter right now. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And so go ahead. Yeah.
Are you staying in I haven't even talked to you. Are you staying in as much as you have been, or?
So pretty much. However, I might be going and doing. Okay. So there is something that I remember first talking about with you on this show, probably about 1.5 years ago. And when this came across my radar, I was like, this is the dumbest, craziest, most insane, stupidest idea anyone could ever conceive of. Do you remember
skydiving?
No. Actually, I think that's a crazy idea, but I actually don't think it's that stupid. I think it'd be fun. What do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
No.
Do you remember when the axe throwing bars came onto the scene and became a thing? It's like, let's put alcohol and axes in people's hands. What could go wrong?
You had a big one that was going to be opening down your way, too.
Yes, and since then, there have been quite a few. And so, obviously, just like everybody else, all these other small businesses, they shut down as well. Well, I guess just like bowling alleys, they're now deemed okay to be open. And a friend of mine was trying to convince me to go with her to an axe throwing bar. And so not only is it this completely insane thing that I was like, that's crazy, I would never do that, but now I'm considering doing that in a quarantine, and only because she broke down their safety precautions. Apparently, it's by appointment only, so you have to reserve your lane. People aren't allowed to just mingle and walk around. You have to have a mask on when you get to your lane. Nobody shares axes anymore. I can't believe that sentence is even coming out of my mouth, but nobody shares axes anymore. Everybody has their own individual axe. So they're doing some things, and I kind of want to look into it more. But that would be the first kind of real social public thing that I've done since this whole thing got started. I'm not convinced yet that I'm doing it, but it would only be because like I have to really feel comfortable, like they're really going way above and beyond. And then I'll still bring my own like tub of hand sanitizer and bathe myself in it every 5 minutes if I do go. But that's it.
But if you're like me, I'm starting to get itchy now. We had spent a couple of years traveling almost every month.
Yeah.
So when you think about, we had gone, and when we weren't doing this show, we were going to conferences. We were traveling almost every month. And
making adventures out of them, like figuring out what can we make. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Or doing things like meeting up with listeners, like going to the Orlando Eye during a podfest a couple of years ago with some listeners. Like adventure became basically part of our normal life for quite some time. Yeah, cruises. And speedboat rides where we've both felt a little more injured and sore afterwards. We did getting on. But we've had quite a good time. I mean, planes, trains, and automobiles, right? That's what it's been like for us. And so to be stuck inside has been kind of a downer.
Yeah, it has been kind of a downer. And I think, so what we talked about, we've been talking about this for quite a while. We've been doing some filler shows, we've been calling them filler shows.
Yeah.
Where we talk about Florida, what's going on, and, kind of keep you informed of that. But that's never what this show was meant to be. It was never meant to be an interview show.
No, it kind of ended up becoming like a mix between our adventure preview episodes where we would, talk about where we were going and then just dive into some random Florida stuff, and kind of coronavirus updates. It kind of became this weird, hodgepodge show that you're right. It was never really the intention of what we wanted to do.
So I think what we decided is that we're going to change the show a little bit right now, in that, maybe when you go out and do something like the axe throwing, you can record a small episode and put it out and let everybody know what a good time you had. Maybe do an interview while you're there or something.
Right.
But
and then throw my microphone that I let them hold and use in the trash, and then burn it, and then get a new microphone. Yes, check. Okay, good.
Exactly. I didn't think about the microphone. Put a plastic bag over it. So
yeah, that's great for sound.
Put one of those rubber gloves over it. Be perfect for a bar. So they're going to have to make new microphone covers.
They are.
We're going to need like masks for our microphones.
Oh, God.
I didn't think about that. So, but we're not going to be doing these regular shows every 2 months until we can start to have adventures again. Mm-hmm. So we're not saying the show is dead. It's not dead. It's just it's going to have to change and go on a bit of a hiatus for a while unless we have some special reports. And we're just going to have to do that for a while until we can get back out again. And unfortunately, with our health situations, we're going to be one of the last people back out, unfortunately.
Yeah,
so,
and I'll take a little bit of the extra blame here. I think part of the reason we also, because doing these filler shows, to a certain extent, they are fun. They're kind of, like I said, they're a mix of the preview shows. And certainly those preview segments are a lot of fun. I love doing Florida Man segments and finding out about the latest foods and drinks and all that kinds of fun stuff. But right now, it's just those fun stories are so few and far between, and they're kind of being overshadowed right now by everything else we're dealing with. So it's just hard to really find the funny and the fun. And I just don't know how we do that and serve this audience of listeners right now. I don't know.
Yeah, and I know that many of you have been listening for kind of a reprieve from the world too, and we get that. We understand that as well. But again, we come back to this show was always meant to be a travel adventure show. So hopefully we can. And believe me, this is hard for both of us because we've put so much time, a lot of miles,
Literally a lot of miles, and sometimes accidentally going backwards half the way from Orlando. Nobody ever did that. Crickets.
Yeah, we did eat a lot of good food along the way. I'm gonna miss all the good. I am missing all the good food, to be honest.
Yes. But one day we will get out there again and eat our way across the state once more. Tampa, we have our eyes on you for an eating tour.
And it would be a little bit different if our state wasn't so crappy and bad off right now.
I know. It's hard. It's really hard. And, a lot of what we like to do is we like to celebrate all the wonderful things that are Florida. And it's just when you're literally the center of the target right now of everybody's jokes. I mean, it's way above and beyond your typical Florida man jokes. We can take those jokes. It's kind of not funny anymore. And so I just don't know how do we incorporate all of that into a regular content. But one thing we are going to do is...
and by the way, the day we're recording this, we have a possible another hurricane bearing down in Florida. So we have that too.
Woohoo! I mean, what else? I'm not going to say what else, because what else will come.
Yeah, don't say that, because 2020 will bring us to what else.
No, I'm not saying that. But so again, we're not, shutting this down completely. It's just a hiatus of sorts. But if you guys go on any of your own adventures, we will happily share all of that kind of stuff on the show. If I do an axe throwing thing, I'll try to get some good audio and share it here, all that kind of stuff. And we're always thinking about new things to do in general on Florida Podcast Network. So some interesting news is coming down the pipeline there on the shows that are also there and other shows that are coming on board. And while we're stuck in quarantine or adventuring out safely, but surely, but slowly, you can also still hang out with us on Facebook, our closed Facebook group for the FPN Insiders. And now that Facebook group also helps to support our Patreon. So if you go to patreon.com/Florida Podcast Network, you can support the shows, support the addition of extra content. Even as tricky as that is right now, you can help our production costs and all that stuff. So hang out with us on Facebook at FPN Insiders and support us at Patreon, patreon.com/Florida Podcast Network. Glenn, was there anything else additional you wanted to throw out there or say on these thoughts? All right, perfect. Good. So I didn't cut you off. As I'm famous for doing. Fantastic.
It's taken 3 years, but finally.
Hey, I learned to apologize every once in a while. Enjoy it and don't ask for it again for a long time. We have a very special roaming reporter. This is JDM. His name is George DeMoya. We call him JDM as his nickname. He is a member of my team over at Flint Stone Media, and he's fantastic. And he and his friend Julian, just before the quarantine got crazy, actually, the last event you and I went to, Glenn, was PodFest. Well, George and Julian met up with a guy named Nathan there who does an immersive experience podcast, and he talks all about immersive experiences, virtual reality, all that kind of stuff. So they went to a place called The Void.
Well, yeah, that's down at Disney Springs.
Yeah. So it's down at Disney Springs. And so Nathan, the host of the show, he gave such a great introduction of JDM and Julian. So you'll hear a bit from that episode about their experience, both doing the Star Wars experience and the virtual Wreck-It Ralph experience. So here's the clip.
George DeMoya is the marketing director and social content manager for Flint Stone Media and their podcast brand, Florida Podcast Network. George also runs a show called the Couch Dads Podcast, where dads get together to talk about dad life, streaming content, events, and the joy of life on the other side of bedtime.
What's going on, guys? My name is George DeMoya, a.k.a. JDM.
Julian Rodriguez, a.k.a. Jules, runs a podcast with his wife, Maria Alejandra, called The Couple Shift, about their lives and experiences as entrepreneurs.
What's up, guys? My name is Julian Rodriguez. I'm going to go ahead with an AKA as well, George. It's Jules, as everybody calls me.
When we're at PodFest, we're there, Disney Springs, and he kept telling me about the void. I'm not too big of a gamer, but I know Jules is, and I enjoy it still. I'm a big Disney fan, Star Wars fan, etc.
The Void is a mixed reality experience. Guests play through a virtual reality environment that is layered on top of a real-world space. As you move through an experience, you are interacting with both physical and virtual elements at the same time. This creates a unique and genuinely profound variety of immersive experience. The Void has a variety of different worlds to adventure through, some of which include Jumanji, Reverse the Curse, Star Wars, Secrets of the Empire, Avengers, Damage Control, and, of course, Ralph Breaks VR. Ralph Breaks VR is a story and game based on the movie Wreck-It Ralph. In this up to 4-player experience, you will sneak onto the internet to help out the movie's heroes, play through a series of mini-games in a vividly colorful and imaginative world, while warding off waves of angsty bunnies with your combo milkshake pancake cannon. Ralph Breaks VR is a very generous helping of lighthearted fun and lasts about half an hour.
One of the coolest things that in what the Star Wars one does and in the Wreck-It Ralph one does is it's just a simple thing, but I think it, for me, especially someone who's into shooting, is such a cool experience when you actually just pick up the gun off the wall. Because you don't walk in there with a gun. You're just walking in there yourself. And you get into a room and you're like, oh, look, they have guns against the wall. And you grab the gun. And of course, our guns for Wreck-It Ralph, it literally fills up with pancakes or milkshakes. But it has like the gun itself, you can switch between pancakes or the milkshakes. So just grabbing it off the wall to me is like, wow. And I know that sounds like that's kind of stupid, but I think that really contributes to the immersion. It's like, instead of just pushing buttons against a wall, which is cool, which is great, grabbing a weapon off the wall and then using it for the rest of the story is a really cool experience. The Star Wars one's a similar way, where they figure you out that you're dressed up as a stormtrooper and you're actually rebels, and you get stuck in a room and they're like, oh, look, there's weapons. And you grab the gun. You're like, oh, my God.
Right before everything, there was one thing that dropped into my head was, I really hope that I don't get a headache after this, because I've done VR stuff before. And, we're talking, decades ago. The technology was not up to par. And I was really worried about that at first, putting on the helmet, putting on all that. But once I got dropped in, I felt very comfortable. The vest helps you feel a little bit more comfortable in a way. It's tight on you. It feels like it's a part of you, and it's got some weight to it, but it wasn't obtrusive or anything like that. So once I felt comfortable in the gear, I was able to just kind of go into it. And somebody that doesn't do this as often, I think that's vital, that the Void has gear that is comfortable for anybody. You get that secondary sense, you're doing this VR world, but then you feel the wind, you can smell the pancakes, and then you feel the wind blowing at you as if you're 35 floors up.
I noticed the system did not like it when you crossed your arms or put your hands together in any way. Your arms just disappeared. They were like, nope, none of that. We have no idea what that is.
It's funny. I had a funny experience in the Star Wars one where somebody's arm was just randomly floating in front of me. But yeah, I think the $40, the $39, whatever it was, is it's reasonable.
It's reasonable. But I would put money on it that because the Void is located in Disney Springs, they're like, you can only do certain content.
Yeah. That would probably make sense.
Links are in the show notes to that episode of the Immersive Nation podcast with host Nathan and special guest Flint Stone Media's own JDM and his friend Julian. So please go check out that entire episode by going to the show notes.
And if you have anything, if you actually get out of the house and get to do something fun here in Florida and want to tell us about it, we encourage you to drop us an email at Jaime, Jaime. We encourage you to drop us an email at Jaime at Jaime at FloridaPodcastNetwork.com. Tell us what fun thing you did, and we'll try and get an interview with you and put it out as a special. We'll be doing some special episodes of this show over the next couple of months until we see what's going to happen. And, who knows? I may actually get out of the house up here in Ocala and get some interviews for you as well. I can give you an update on something
and the foxes and the cows.
That's right. There is one big thing I can give you a quick update on, and that is Horsewise up here in Ocala, the World Equestrian Center, which is going to be the largest equestrian complex in the world when it's done. It's about 3 miles from my house, and they are making huge progress. outside of the hotel looks almost done. The arenas are getting done, and they're supposed to open in January. And at this rate, it looks like they just might.
Wow.
They have planted, whoever has the landscaping contract for this 4,000-acre property is now bought a yacht because they have planted so many full-grown trees around this property. It must be thousands of full-grown trees and palm trees and things, and not little ones, big ones, 20-footers.
Wow.
And they're just shrubs and bushes and trees and flowers everywhere, and it's just incredible.
The landscaper's happy, the tree farmer's happy. Fantastic.
Construction people, because there's about 200 construction people on site every given day. So yeah, something exciting is really happening in Ocala, and that's supposed to open in January. God help us that it does. And they're supposed to be starting shows then. So something is exciting and still progressing here in Ocala.
I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of amazing, wonderful audio footage from the World Equestrian Center in Finding Florida's Future. Am I right?
That's right. And they're supposed to be doing concerts and dog shows and all of sports park. They're supposed to be doing like X Games shows there, all kinds of stuff.
Nice.
So not just horse stuff. It's going to be a little bit of everything. Their stadium seats 8,000 people. So it's a big stadium.
Wow.
And they're looking at having full concerts, like with big names. So it should be very interesting. And the fact that we can drive there in 5 minutes, I could ride my bike there in 15.
Because it's have
that close.
Zero things going on social life-wise in 5 minutes from where you live. I've been there. It's at least a half hour.
There's nothing.
So that's amazing. Good for you. Well, one thing I also want to mention is if you are out there experiencing your own horse-related stuff or virtual reality-related stuff or whatever it is, and you do want to contribute to the show, in addition to emailing me, you can record something real quick on the voice recorder on your phone and send it that way. Or, I don't even think I've had a chance to tell you this, Glenn, there is now a SpeakPipe feature on Florida Podcast Network's website. So if you go to floridapodcastnetwork.com, there's a button right there you can press and just record right there from your phone on the website. Super easy. So you can just share
We've been
experiences.
using that on Horse Radio Network for years, and it works terrific, and the sound's so good. It's
fantastic. Can you believe it? I finally caught up technology-wise to the horse world.
Finally.
That's amazing.
Flint Stone Media has been the digital bedrock of several Florida brands and businesses. Serving as a highly resourceful podcast production house, work with a leader in Florida's podcasting industry and add a podcast to your brand's content offerings. From setup through recording and distribution, Jaime will lend her experience producing over 500 episodes and make the process of creating your show simple and easy for you. Visit flintstonemedia.com for podcast samples. That's flintstonemedia.com.
Oh my goodness. Well, thanks for staying with us through all of this quarantine madness. We promise you, we're not going anywhere. This is just a little bit of a we'll consider this like a mental health break, right? Let's all take just a deep breath and figure this stuff out. We're going to crawl our way back out of it. We haven't gone far. We promise.
Well, even with social distancing, you can still hang out with us on social media. Just search for Find FL Podcast, and you'll also find us on Facebook and wherever else you want to take a look. We even have a YouTube channel. Our YouTube videos keep popping up on my YouTube feed. So I keep seeing videos of us like from 2 years ago popping up.
Hopefully somebody's watching. At least one person. Do you click when they pop up? We need the views, man.
I know. I keep watching thinking, oh, we did have fun back when.
Yeah, we did. We sure did.
Well, everybody, here's to your next Florida adventure, whatever that may be.